Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to season one, episode three of FNC Raw Undisputed. Sorry for the time lapse. I do know it's 6:25. I'm supposed to start at 6. I had a little bit of technical difficulties going into the show. I was trying out a new broadcast app and was just having fits with it. So this weekend, we're going to be going to a new broadcast format, and hopefully next week on Monday, things will be back to normal. Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Yesterday, I did not come on because we were messing around with a couple broadcast apps, and I realized people that are trying to do things like I'm doing, or just anything that has to do with broadcasting in itself, stay away from an app called Be Live. It's not great at all. I mean, it's not cracked up what it's supposed to be. I tried that, and that's one of the reasons why I'm late today, because I kept on fucking around with that application. But yes, let's get this show on the road. Again, season one, episode 3 of FNC Raw Undisputed. I guess let's start right from the gate with some NBA news. NBA early woes and highs. If you want to get the joke, lows and highs, slap yourself on the fucking back if you got that one. Season opened 2 days ago, right from the gate. I mean, I'm sure you guys all seen online videos on ESPN and Fox Sports, or even all across the web. I mean, the serious injury that Hayward got basically within the first 5 minutes of that game. It was definitely horrific. I mean, that's just an understatement. I mean, it looked pretty grotesque. But yeah, his season, I'd say, is probably done for the year. I would definitely be surprised if he's back. From what I gathered, uh, he broke his, I think it was fibula, and he dislocated his ankle. I mean, I'm sure you guys have all seen the Insta replay. I mean, it was it was definitely nasty. I mean, trying to do an alley hoop, got clipped by LeBron, went down awkwardly, and boom, done for the season. I mean, I'm not saying the Celtics are dead in the water now, but that's a pretty serious piece of their roster going down. Now, that being said, it will give some of the young players time to step in and give them minutes to develop their game. So, I mean, it's bad, but it's not bad if you're looking to develop the depth in your team. I mean, no injury isn't bad. I mean, these players are out there, they give their heart and soul, and they definitely, it's definitely a sad thing whenever you see one of those players go down, especially a player with star power like that. I mean, it definitely hurts the franchise. Now, I mean, he's not the only one that got injured. Before we get into some of the injuries, some of the highs, uh, Antetokounmpo went off for 37 points, which, I mean, if anybody knows the NBA, he is an up-and-coming star in this league. LeBron was one assist away from having a triple-double. Uh, that whenever also, I mean, he's one assist away from a triple-double whenever he exclaimed that he had ankle injury and he might not be able to even play that game. And then after the game, he talks about how he's out of shape. He played 41 minutes in that season opener, and if he's out of shape, I can't wait to see what it looks like in shape, which is kind of stupid to say on my part, 'cause I mean, we all know that LeBron James is probably uh, the best basketball player in the world right now, and probably the one behind him, or arguably one and two, would be Kevin Durant. But yeah, I would definitely give my hat nodded to LeBron, saying that yeah, being in his 15th season, LeBron is definitely probably the best player in the game right now. And honestly, watching his performance, I don't see him. I don't see him slowing down. A lot of players will always try to keep bringing up the fact LeBron and Michael, LeBron and Michael. Uh, I mean, yeah, Michael Jordan, I feel, is probably the best player that's ever played the game. But LeBron, if you're looking at it from a broad aspect, there's not one position that LeBron James can't play on that floor. And LeBron James, he's an all-around player. I mean, he's hellacious on offense and he's hellacious on defense. I mean, he can play any position. He can play center. He can play guard. He can play forward. I mean, there's nothing that he can't play. Which brings me to the result. Yeah, he's definitely probably the best player in basketball today. And whenever he retires, I mean, even if he doesn't win another ring, I mean, he's definitely in the conversation of being probably one of the greatest basketball players ever. And in some people's eyes, he definitely has surpassed Michael Jordan. Again, back when Michael Jordan was playing, the rules were definitely different. I mean, nowadays you really can't do the things that you can do in the early 90s and in the 80s. I mean, I don't want to say basketball is fluff nowadays, but it kind of is. I mean, you even look at a player wrong and boom, you got a foul. I mean, it is kind of bullshit. But hey, it is what it is. Got to roll with the times, man. I mean, football's definitely not what it used to be. I mean, it's basically powder puff fucking football nowadays. I mean, again, you look at a fucking quarterback wrong, you get a 15-yard penalty, which is kind of bullshit. But I mean, you got to keep the players safe, so I understand that. I mean, and you are taught at a young age, I guess nowadays, how to tackle properly, so we don't want injuries occurring. So I mean, yeah, I mean, it's a hard conversation to have whenever you're trying to say who's the best basketball player in the world or who's going to be the number one basketball player. But when it comes down to whenever LeBron James ends his career, it's going to be LeBron and Michael Jordan. I mean, uh, what else can you say? I mean, LeBron's just a beast. Now, I don't agree with everything that LeBron does. I do think that he is the most unstoppable player when he's going to the rim. Again, I think a lot of it has to do with in the back of his head. He doesn't think that he can hit them free throws with consistency. And a perfect example of that is right at the end of the game there. I mean, he could have sealed the deal by easily going to the rim. And even if he missed, you get at least two foul shots. I mean, he could have sunk that, made that a two-possession game, but what he does, he goes up for a three-pointer and basically almost kind of sent that game to overtime, which in overtime, who knows what would have happened. That being said, Kyrie Irving had a hell of a game. I mean, you could definitely tell that the air got thrown out of that team whenever Hayward went down with his injury. But just like the player said at the end of the game, when it comes down to it, I mean, you still got a game to play. And I think they did rally around, and they did make that a game. Now, I have heard a few analysts saying that you can definitely tell the Cavaliers are such a much better team than the Celtics whenever people thought that the Celtics would be the only team that would give them trouble in the playoffs. It's one game. I mean, it's the first game of the season, so do I think the Cavs have a better roster than they did last year? Yeah, I do. I mean, it looks like they have some more depth. Uh, but again, I mean, Dwayne Wade didn't play like the last 5 minutes of that game, which you would expect him to be on the court. But again, it's one game. I mean, you can't go out and say that the Celtics are dead in the water because they lost the first game to the Cavs. I mean, you can't. And I think we all know, if you're a basketball fan, the first half of the season is basically kind of you're trying to figure out your defensive rotation. You're trying to figure out what roles certain players are going to play. And then basically after the All Star break, you have a good idea on what your team is and how your team is going to play during certain situations. So, I mean, basically, the first half of the NBA season to me is basically like a long ass fucking preseason. But yeah, that being said, it was one game. So no one is going to go off the rocker and be like, oh my God, the Cavs are so much better than the Celtics. Celtics are shit. Now, that being said, with the injuries that they did occur with Hayward, I do believe that possibly this can knock them out of the top three best teams in the East. But that being said, I mean, with the way the NBA is broke down in the playoffs, I mean, it only takes one game to switch momentum back. I mean, if you beat a team at their home, I mean, kind of basically you kind of just gave your home field advantage kind of right back to you. So again, it's one game, but yeah, other injuries. Jeremy Lin, he's going to be out for the season. He ruptured his patella tendon in his right knee. Whenever he went down, you can hear him screaming, "I'm done, I'm done," and it was confirmed that yes, he did rupture his patella tendon in his right knee. Draymond Green, he is getting he had an MRI yesterday on his knee, which took him out early in the first quarter of the Warriors Houston game, which Houston did edge that game out 122 to 120, I believe. That was a good game. Yeah, the Warriors definitely they can't afford to lose Draymond Green for any significant amount of time. I mean, they do have a squad top to bottom that is probably one of the best in basketball right now. And Draymond Green, he's kind of he's basically the gasoline that makes that motor run. I mean, he has that edginess about him to where I mean, it's kind of hard to explain. I mean, whenever they lost the finals against the Cavs a couple years ago, a lot of people have said that it was Draymond Green not playing, which kind of gave them the Cavs the opportunity to come back and win those that finals. Which I mean, I won't disagree and I won't agree with that. I mean, I don't think that one player makes or breaks your team in the NBA. I mean, you have a full squad of players, and I just can't fathom seeing that Draymond Green is the reason why you're going to win or lose. I mean, whenever he has Steph Curry that basically can hit a 3-pointer from half court, I mean, that whole team. I mean, it's just an amazing lineup, and I understand that Draymond has that toughness to him. But again, I don't feel that he's the driving force that's going to make or break a Warriors team that is basically fucking from head to toe fucking elite in every position. Uh, Chris Paul sat out yesterday's game with a knee injury, which he was complaining about that knee injury in the season opener. Isaiah Thomas, which we all know he's not coming back until at least January with that hip. And Dante Exum, he might be out with the season with a dislocated left shoulder. Uh, Rodney, Rodney McCurdy, he had surgery for a stress fracture in his leg. Brandon Knight blew his knee out in the summer league. Tony Parker, he'll probably be out with for a few more weeks, as well as Kawhi Leonard. Glenn Robinson, he's definitely going to miss half of the season with his ankle injury. Jabari Parker, he's still got a couple months left to rehab his knee. Now, I mean, mind you, not all these injuries occurred in the season's first couple games, but I mean, these are injuries to, I don't want to say elite players, but I mean, they're key role players uh, for their teams. And I mean, with a lot of these players being out already, uh, you got to kind of ask yourself, is the NBA kind of hurting right now with a lot of their stars being out and the season's not even a week underway? Uh, I would say no, but it's a question that people are asking because I guess it's their jobs to ask insanely fucking questions like this. But no, I don't think the NBA is in trouble because a few of their stars are out. I mean, these are good players, but again, if you look at it in that aspect, these players being out, it gives the younger players time to develop to where the depth you have on your team, the minutes that they might not have gotten to play during these times with these players being out, now it's give them ample opportunity to get some very meaningful minutes while these players are out. And I mean, depth is very important in the NBA. I mean, depth's important in any sport if you think about it. I mean, injuries can occur at the drop of a dime. I mean, that's life. I mean, and we've seen with Hayward, I mean, just a little bump from LeBron and boom, man, like your season's done. And he was one of the Celtics' big pickups, and I mean that pickup in itself, I mean, as well as the Kyrie Irving one. I mean, they were banking on those two stars to really lift them past the Cavaliers. Uh, I mean, some of the highs that were definitely overshadowed by all these injuries. Like I said, Houston edged out the Warriors. Sean Whiteside had 26 points and 22 rebounds. And we were talking about Hassan 3 days ago on Tuesday when I was giving certain storylines for their teams. And yeah, Hassan Whiteside, he's definitely an up and coming star, I believe, here in the next couple years. I mean, I think he's definitely going to help make Miami a very relevant team, especially after losing Dwayne Wade. Uh, I mean, Miami's definitely on the up and up, I believe. Uh, yeah, again, man, a lot of these things that happen, I mean, were definitely overshadowed by injury. And I mean, no team wants to experience injury. I mean, you kind of want to go into the season healthy and remain healthy, but injuries are a part of the game. Uh, like I said, I mean, we're hoping all these players come back better than before, and we're hoping that they have some some quick rehab skills. I mean, get their shit, get their body right, get back on the field. Uh, okay, to go away from the NBA. If you guys watched yesterday, the Cubbies, they did win Game 4, bringing the series to 3-1 with a 3-2 score. All the points in that game came from solo home runs, which is kind of crazy. Javier Baez shot off 2 solos. He was over 20 coming into yesterday's game, and I say he broke out. Well, I don't want to say he broke out of the slump. I mean, but hey, you're over 20 leading up to that game, and you rock 2 dingers. I mean, that's got to be good for your psyche. especially going 0-20. After the game, Joe Madden said, and I quote, his entire game, Javier Baez, is spectacular. When young guys like that really struggle, you got to stay with them. It was a really good matchup for him, and he took advantage of it. Give the guy a lot of credit. Which, yeah, we'll give you a lot of credit. I mean, you helped your team be swept. I mean, and I sat here 2 days in a row saying about how, yeah, get out the brooms, that I really did feel that they were going to be swept. But they did avoid the sweep. And last year, I mean, they came down from 3-1, and they won the World Series. Here's another little meaningful stat, if you want to look at it that way. Last night's win marked the Cubs winning 5 straight elimination games, which that's something you definitely probably don't want to be known for. I mean, you can't make your living off of winning in elimination games and going on to win the whole thing. I mean, it's very hard to do that. But obviously, they're one of those teams that can play under pressure. I mean, that thing in itself, 1 straight 5 elimination games, I mean, that kind of proves it then, especially on the biggest stadium, the World Series last year, down 3-1, came back, won the World Series. I feel that the Cubs are definitely done. Doesn't matter if they won yesterday or not. I believe that, yes, they're done. Their offense has been struggling, and actually their offense kind of been struggling this whole playoff so far. And yeah, I do believe that, yeah, the Los Angeles Dodgers will win tonight, and they will go on to probably face the Yankees. Now, I did not think the Yankees were going to come back the way they did, but hey, I mean, they won yesterday as well, so it's 3-2 now, that series. And yeah, honestly, I don't think there's really anything stopping the Yankees from actually going out and, yeah, going to the World Series. I mean, they're a tough team. They definitely are a tough team, a tough young team. Now, they planned on building this for next year, but uh, their GM went out, and I mean, before the trade deadline, and definitely he definitely upgraded his pitching staff. And honestly, if you take out the 1/3 inning that the Yankees had, their pitching has been dominant. I mean, they have I think they're averaging out of the 3 teams they faced like point. Oh my God, I think it's like 1.78 on an average. I mean, they're just literally dominating every team that they face. And I believe that the Yankees and the Dodgers will be one hell of a World Series because, I mean, both the teams, uh, they have great lineups. They both have great pitching staffs. And I do think that this will be one hell of a World Series if the Yankees do indeed knock off the Astros, which if you know anything about baseball, you'll know that the Astros, they have choked in big moments like this for the last few years. I mean, they were down. Well, I mean, they were beating the Royals, and then they choked, and the Royals ended up coming back, beating them, and then the Royals ended up winning the World Series, and that was just recently. So I mean, yeah, the Astros have been known to choke, and I believe that they just did a big choke job this year, too. That and being said, I mean, Clayton Kershaw's on the mound today. Uh, in the last decade, Clayton Kershaw is arguably one of the best pitchers in baseball. Uh, his career ERA is 2.36, which is totally fucking amazing. Uh, he led the National League this year with a 2.31 ERA, and that was the worst ERA that he's posted since 2012. So, I mean, that just gives you an idea of just how dominant Clayton Kershaw has been. And, yes, he is definitely on the mound today. and I see Clayton being as dominant as he has been the last decade. I see the Dodgers closing this one out, and then yeah, going on to the World Series. I mean, the Cubbies. I mean, they can be upset all they want, but I mean, hey, they didn't win a World Series for like 100 years or some shit like that. They came out and they won last year. I mean, so give them props. And this is a young team. I mean, so it's not like we're not going to see the Cubbies possibly not playing for a World Series every year here for the next couple years, as long as they can keep that lineup intact. Uh, I do think they need to strengthen their pitching staff up a little bit, but other than that, I mean, this Cubs teams, I mean, they're for real, and I don't see them not contending every year. I mean, so yeah, it's a letdown this year for them, but again, next year's right around the corner, and yeah, I mean, you learn from your mistakes. This year, I believe that their downfall was pitching, more so the middle relievers than anything. Their starting pitching, I mean, it was damn good. It's just their middle relievers were. I mean, I don't want to say dominant, but that was probably the weakest part of their game, and they can easily shore that up next year. Um, I don't know if you guys heard, but Colin Kaepernick today, uh, his lawyer came out and issued a statement uh, about some of the stuff that Trump was twittering about. Trump came out saying the NFL has decided that it will not force players to stand for the national anthem. Total disrespect for our great country. Too much talk, not enough action. Stand for the national anthem. And then Colin Kaepernick's lawyer responded, quoting JFK, as John F. Kennedy aptly noted almost 60 years ago, a president should be a moral leader in the crusade for human rights, and he must exert the great moral and educational force of his office to support the rights of every American to stand up for his rights, even if on the occasion he must sit down for them. I mean, great quote by his lawyer, but then again, it makes me think, uh, why isn't Colin Kaepernick coming out and stating this? Like, why do you got to have your lawyer, I mean, draw up a statement issued on your behalf? I mean, this is what a lot of analysts and a lot of the football people are saying. Like, you came and you put a target on your back by starting all this a few years ago, and you're not, I mean, you were vocal at the time, but we have not heard anything from you in like a year. Like, have your own press conference. And like I said the other day, man, like, if you want to play football, come out and say, hey, I want to play football. Like, don't go and file collusion charges against the NFL. Like, if you want to play football, you need to make it shown that, hey, man, you want to play football. Like, don't sit there like a bitch. Like, respectively, like you're being a bitch. Like, for real. Like, we haven't heard one fucking thing from you at all. Like, if you want to play football, come out and say you want to play football. I mean, it's not hard to have a 5-minute press conference. It's not like any reporter's not going to be like, hey, no, I'm not going to give you the time. Come out and give a press conference as easily as saying, hey, man, listen, I've been practicing on a daily basis. I'm ready. I'm mentally ready in my mind to play football. Like, it's not hard to do that, man. Like, and I think this is what teams want to hear. Like, they don't want to hear your lawyer giving statements. Like, they don't want to hear other analysts guessing on where you're at in your mind about playing football. Like, they want to hear you. And that's the thing where Colin's messing up at. I mean, he wasn't even a great quarterback to begin with. Like, he wasn't. And now, like, everybody is just, like, they're putting him on a pedestal like he was something. Like, he wasn't anything. Like, he didn't win nothing. Yeah, he got him to some big games, but he didn't finish them big games. I mean, he lost his job basically to a scrub. I mean, Blaine Gabbert took his fucking job. I mean, how are you going to let Blaine Gabbert take his job? Like, for real. Like, if you're that good of a quarterback, there should have been no quarterback controversy. Like, it should have been your fucking team. And, I mean, I just don't understand it. Right now, people across the league are looking at Colin as a joke. I mean, you need to get your lawyer and you need to get your girlfriend to talk for you. Talk for yourself, man. You have your own voice. I mean, are you that embarrassed about how everything has been playing out? I mean, you started the whole knee thing. I mean, I understand that it was for a good reason, but again, like now it's been so watered down that the original message on why you took a knee, it's not even being discussed. I mean, like, I guarantee you half the people out there don't even know the real reason why these NFL players are taking a knee. Like, they don't. Because we have everybody and their brother, like, saying that this is the reason why, this is the reason. It's like, no, man, like, you started it, so be the man. Come the fuck out. Give a press conference, man. Like, they want to hear from you, not your fucking lawyer, not your goddamn girlfriend. Like, be a man, step the fuck up, and hold a press conference, man. Like, for real. That in itself will let team owners know that you're serious about playing football. Like, for real, man. I mean, just come out and do a press conference. And for another thing, like, your football career is done this year. Like, there's not one team in the NFL that is going to come out and give Colin Kaepernick a phone call. One, we're going into week 7. Anybody that knows football knows that if a quarterback comes in this late, one, he's not going to be in football shape. Two, you got to learn the playbook. So for a team to physically call you and say, hey, Colin, we're going to give you a shot, come into camp. Let's see what you got. I mean, not being disrespectful, but it would be hard for any quarterback to come in and do that. I mean, if someone brings Colin Kaepernick in, he's probably only going to win 2 or 3 games. Like, are you really going to ostracize half your fan base to win 2 or 3 extra games because you don't got a quarterback and you want Colin Kaepernick to come in? Like, and to be realistic, like, yeah, Kaepernick is not playing this year. No, one team is going to come out and give him a call this year. So you're better off just coming out, giving a press conference saying, hey, man, like, I want to play football. I'm practicing on a daily basis. I have my mind right. I have my body right. You know what I mean? Then maybe someone will pick you up at the end of the year or before the trade deadline. I mean, you might not get into the fucking starting lineup, but you can at least start to learn that playbook. And then going into next year, you'll have that playbook pretty well on the wraps. And then you should be able to win that starting job as a starting quarterback. But don't think that someone's going to call you up week 8 and be like, hey, Colin, we need you. Like, realistically, you're not going to help this team win. It's going to take you a couple weeks just to get an NFL game shape, let alone learn that playbook and be able to, like it's just not going to happen. So, I mean, all these people that are on Colin Kaepernick's fucking side saying, oh, he needs to be signed, he needs to be signed. And if he gets signed, he's not going to help a team. I mean, if anything, it's going to split your fan base in half of the people that don't like Colin for the reasons of him kneeling and doing the protest, and the fans that possibly do like Colin. I mean, it's not worth it to an NFL team right now to go out in the middle of the season and sign a quarterback that hasn't played a meaningful snap in over a year. Like, it's like people got to use their heads. I mean, It's all great and good to think that, yeah, he can come in, but what's he really going to do? Like, he's not going to really amount to anything this year. Now, pay some bills here. Travago. Are you sick of insanely priced hotels, or are you tired of making phone call after phone call to compare prices for a hotel before your vacation? If so, let Travago do all the work for you. They'll compare millions of hotels with the click of a button. Take the guessing game out of booking. Try Travago. Let them save you time and money. Travago.com. Mountain Dew. If you're looking for a soda that packs a punch like an extreme MMA fighter, then you're looking for that crisp, refreshing taste that only one soft drink can provide. Join the millions already doing the do, and do the do yourself. Do the do the extreme. Okay, let's see. Going into staying with the NFL, there's a lot of intriguing games this week. I'll give you a couple players that you can sit or play this week if you guys are into fantasy. I am in a couple fantasy leagues. I am 5-0 in my one, and I'm 4-1 in the other. I win all the time. Can't help it. LaShawn McCoy. He's one of the players that if you have him on your team, I would play him this week. He's going against the Tampa Bay Bucks, who just gave up 134 yards and 2 touchdowns to Adrian Peterson. This Bucks defense hasn't looked real great against running backs, and I would think with a veteran like LaShawn McCoy, I think he could probably put up same amount of numbers that Adrian Peterson put up last week. I mean, Adrian Peterson by far I still think is the best running back in the league. Even though he had that little stint in the Saints, that has no reflection on AP being a bum nowadays. I mean, AP is still the same beast he was 2-3 years ago, and anyone that thinks differently, they're fucking insane. Like, it's AP, buddy. Like, I mean, what player comes back in less than a year from blowing his ACL out and tears it up and leads the league in rushing that year? I mean, Adrian Peterson is just a totally different monster. I mean, definitely one of the best running backs in the league today still. T.Y. Hilton for the Colts. I do believe you have him on your roster. I would sit him this week. He's going against the Jaguars secondary that is excellent against the pass. I mean, they have given up only 1 touchdown to wide receivers this year that they have faced. I mean, say what you want about the Jaguars, but I mean, Blake Bortles hasn't looked horrible this year, and all he kind of needed was a run game to help him, basically, so he doesn't have to pass 40 to 50 times a game. I mean, that was his big problem before. I mean, the Jags had no run game. So, I mean, you put all the pressure on Blake Bortles, which, I mean, I don't think that he's the greatest quarterback. But, again, I don't think he's the lousiest quarterback. I mean, you give him a run game, and you see what they're doing right now. I mean, Leonard Fournette, he's definitely the real deal so far. I mean, a lot of people jumped on his shit whenever he scored his first touchdown in the preseason, whenever he said, I didn't think I thought this was going to be a lot harder than what it was. This game isn't as fast as I thought. And then I heard all kind of analysts bashing him, saying, "Oh, well, you only played 1 game." Da 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 da. Well, you know what? Fournette backed that up, man. I mean, he's having a hell of a season this year. I mean, he's putting it on motherfuckers. Like, he's running through people like nothing. I mean, last week, I mean, he wanted the contact. He's waving him to him. He's like, "Come on, hit me." Like, so, I mean, yeah, Fournette's definitely the real deal. I mean, what's he going to be like for the remainder of his career? Who knows? But this year, he's definitely doing good. But, yeah, back to T.Y. Hilton. I would definitely sit T.Y. this week. Last week, he only had, I believe it was 1 catch for 19 yards. And I do believe the secondary that they're facing this week is a lot better than the secondary they faced last week. I mean, the Jags are no joke. I mean, I said a couple years ago with the way they've been drafting heavily on the defense. I mean, they're making that team a defensive power, and it's only a matter of time till the Jags become relevant again. And I believe that these last couple years in the draft, it is showing that they are trying to build defense out. And I mean, their defense is definitely showing up. And again, Blake Bortles, I believe, is definitely going to benefit from Leonard Fournette being in the backfield. I mean, it does suck with Allen Robinson being out. I mean, now they really only have Marquise Lee and Allen Hurns, which both really haven't been stepping it up. But again, I mean, they're leaning on the running game a lot. So, I mean, and if they do need to make a throw, I believe Blake can make that throw. So maybe next year, I would think in the draft that the Jags would start to focus on the offense a little bit more, like more heavily drafting on the offense. Because, yeah, I do believe that their defense is pretty stout. I mean, you can still draft some of the for defense. I'm not saying draft fucking 7 to 8 offensive players. But again, now it's time to start getting some wide receivers, start building that lineup a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I think the Jags are for real. That a lot of teams slept on them, and we're seeing just exactly how these last couple drafts have built up. And you got to give them credit. I mean, the Jaguars look tough. Another player, Jared Goff. I would play him this week. The Cards have given up 13 touchdowns in the last 6 contests to opposing quarterbacks. Also, I mean, shit, they just let Ryan Fitzpatrick throw for 290 yards and 3 touchdowns last week. I mean, I'm not saying the Cardinals' defense is shit, but, I mean, they're not what everyone at the beginning of the year thought they were going to be. I mean, they are having some struggles. I mean, Peterson is getting up there in age. Not saying that he's not still a lockdown corner. I mean, he's a good corner. And, I mean, they do have some pieces on the defense and young talent that could get this Cardinals defense back to what they were a few years ago. But as of right now, this defense is struggling. And, I mean, I think we seen that last week whenever Ryan Fitzpatrick came in and basically carved them up. So I'm just by seeing that, I mean, I think Goff is a lot better of a quarterback than Ryan Fitzpatrick. I mean, I guess people could probably argue with me a little bit on that, but I seriously doubt it. But yeah, I would definitely play Jared Goff if you have him in your lineup. Now, I mean, depending on what quarterbacks you have other than Jared Goff, I mean, if you have Tom Brady, don't bench Tom Brady for Jared Goff, you know what I mean? But if you don't have elite quarterbacks on your fantasy team and Jared Goff is one of those quarterbacks, I would definitely give him a look because, yeah, I think he'll have a good game against the Cardinals this week. Dak Prescott, I would, if you have Dak Prescott in your lineup, I would definitely play Dak Prescott this week. The 49ers, they've been giving up 262.3 yards per contest. Last week, it let Kirk Cousins light him up. I mean, Kirk Cousins was the top fantasy quarterback of the week that week. And I do think Dak Prescott's a lot better than Kirk Cousins. Now, I'm not saying Kirk Cousins is a bad quarterback, because Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback. I think the way Washington has dealt with franchising him every year, like, I think that's going to come and bite him in the ass. And I think it'll bite him in the ass next year because I think Kirk Cousins is gone. And he has a good chance of going to the 49ers, I believe. Because, I mean, they wanted him this year, but Washington just wouldn't give him up, or the price tag that they wanted for him wasn't what San Francisco was going to give. Now, that being said, I mean, there's a lot of good quarterbacks coming out in the draft this year. So if they don't want to try to take a run at Kirk Cousins, I mean, there's young quarterbacks coming out in this draft that they can snatch up. But again, I mean, if you want to give Kirk Cousins like a 2-year contract or whatnot, just to let the rookie quarterback sit behind him and learn from Kurt, more power to you. But I mean, Kurt, I definitely think will be he won't be a Redskin next year. And then the Redskins will kind of be basically in kind of free fall. I mean, I don't even know who their backup is. I think it still might be Colt McCoy. And I mean, Colt McCoy, I mean, he might have been a badass quarterback, I mean, in college, but he really hasn't amounted to much now. I mean, the only good game that he had was against the Cowboys a couple years ago. Other than that, yeah, I mean, Colt McCoy hasn't been anything. And if he was, I'd see him would have smashed him up already. But yeah, I definitely think the Washington Redskins fucked themselves. I mean, Kirk Cousins made a lot of money off the Redskins, so I mean, he doesn't owe them anything. I mean, he made a boatload of money. Washington definitely screwed up by not giving that guy a contract. I mean, it is what it is. Listen, Dan Snyder, I don't know what his problem is. I mean, I don't know if they just didn't believe in Cousins and they were just waiting for him to fail, but he hasn't failed. And he's the only thing that's been making your team relevant these last few years. I mean, if it wasn't for Cousins, you'd be shit. I mean, you really would be. I mean, he's what makes your team. I mean, you don't go to run game. You lost all your wide receivers basically last year. I mean, you let go of Deshaun Jackson, you let go of Pierre Garcon. I mean, you're definitely hurting on that aspect. I mean, James Crowder, I mean, yeah, he might be good. You got Terrell Pryor, which Terrell Pryor hasn't done shit this year at all. I mean, he had one good game. Uh, Chris Thompson, I mean, he's your back, but again, he's more of a passing back than anything. I mean, he's not running between the tackles. I mean, Chris Thompson, he's been good this year, but that's a lot on screen passes and passes up the field a little bit. I mean, he's not your banger fucking running back. Robert Kelly, he hasn't done anything really. I mean, he's not what he looked like he was going to be last year. And last year he wasn't really even that good. So I mean, they haven't had a running back since Clinton Portis, and that was years ago. Another player that I would sit would be Le'Veon Bell. I would definitely not start Le'Veon Bell this week. The Bengals are rested. They are fresh. They've been giving up on an average of 79 yards to the running backs per contest. They've only given up two touchdowns to running backs this year. I mean, I'm not saying that the Bengals are this world fucking beaten defense, but their defense definitely is rested. I mean, they've had some time to rest this last like week and a half, and yeah, I mean the Bengals, they're a very weird team. But yeah, I don't expect Le'Veon Bell to have a big game this week. I really don't expect Big Ben to have a big game this week. And what they really need to do, I mean, the Steelers need to come out and rattle off a couple of these wins because I mean they're letting Baltimore stick around, and you don't want to let the Ravens stick around. I'm not even saying the Ravens are anything because I think honestly, in my opinion, that the Ravens are a very shitty team this year. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Bengals come out and win this division. Because, I mean, the Steelers, they are very inconsistent. I mean, I think Big Ben has 1 foot in retirement. So, in his mind, I'm thinking that is what is kind of triggering Big Ben to have a kind of a shitty season this year. I mean, he contemplated retirement at the end of last season. So, I mean, he came back this season to play. But again, once you get it in your mind as an NFL player that you're kind of retired, you don't get out of that mind frame. So right now, with the way that his body has taken a pounding these last since basically 2015, I mean, a couple days went over if Big Ben was done. I mean, I gave you a list of his injuries that he's sustained since 2015, and I mean they're taking a toll, and you can tell that they're definitely taking a toll on Big Ben. So, and like I said a couple days ago, I think that the Steelers are going to maybe making a push for a quarterback this year in the draft. And if anything, I see Big Ben playing next year, and then he'll be done. I don't think he's going to play out his contract, which his contract is up in 2019. Another reason is the money that is owed to Big Ben. I mean, it's definitely crippling to the Steelers. I mean, if they want to acquire some players, Big Ben's Big Ben's cap hit is taking a lot of that money from them in order to be able to build the Steelers to what they want to be. And I mean, like I said, I can see Big Ben playing next year, basically kind of just to groom the rookie quarterback to get him ready for the 2019 season. But I don't see Big Ben playing past next year. And even that, next year is a big stretch because, I mean, anything can happen in this season. I mean, Big Ben can have a hell of a fucking injury again sometime this season, and he can be like, you know what, guys, I need to hang it up. I've sustained so many injuries this past 3 years that I want to be able to walk when I'm older, which I understand that. I mean, he takes a beating. I mean, he's one hell of a quarterback. I mean, you talk to Ray Lewis. Ray Lewis even says, man, I mean, he gives Big Ben props all the time. He's like, he's one of them quarterbacks that you think is down, and then you turn around and he just made a 60-yard play down the field. I mean, Big Ben's a fucking beast. But yeah, injuries are catching up to him, so I do believe that this would probably be one of the last years that we see Big Ben in Pittsburgh. And I definitely don't think the backup they have now is going to be the answer. So, which will probably be good news to the Steeler fans. So yeah, the quarterback that they have now that they go out, which I forget his name, which doesn't really matter. He's a backup quarterback. He's not going to be the future of your team. If you guys are going to get a future quarterback of the Steelers moving forward, it is going to be in this year's draft. I mean, any team in the NFL that is looking to get a quarterback of the future that is going to be a franchise quarterback, I would definitely be making a push this year because there's at least 6 quarterbacks this year that I believe can come out and help your team lead them moving forward. I mean, Josh Rosen and Sam Darnold will probably be your top 2 quarterbacks, but people that know the NFL, they know you can get dominant roughs all the time. Look, the Cowboys got Dak Prescott in the 4th round. I mean, just because you're a first-round quarterback doesn't mean you're going to make anything. There are more first-round busts than there are first-round fucking quality players that have led your team to the Super Bowl. I mean, Russell Wilson was picked up, I believe, in the 3rd round. So, I mean, it kind of – and Tom Brady, he's the perfect example. 6th-round fucking quarterback, and Tom Brady's the beast. He's definitely the GOAT. I mean, you talk about top echelons of quarterback, Tom Brady. You talk about the best quarterback ever coming out of a draft, definitely wasn't Tom Brady. I mean, we all seen his tape from the Columbine. I mean, it was a joke. But, yeah, Tom Brady, he's a beast. And he goes to show that it doesn't matter what round you find a quarterback in. I mean, you put him in a system, and that system works for that player. I mean, you got gold. I mean, Tom Brady's definitely the poster child of never knock a 6th round draft pick. I mean, you never know. I mean, Tony Romo was an undrafted quarterback. I mean, and people want to bitch about Tony Romo all the time or cut that man in half. I mean, he has every single Cowboys record. I mean, Tony Romo is a fucking beast. I mean, like to admit that or not, I mean, there are a lot of Romo haters, but Romo, for being an undrafted free agent, he was a fucking animal, man. I mean, there was a time there, a few-year time span, that Tony Romo was one of the best quarterbacks in football. He would not get the props because the team went 8-8 3 years in a row. And a lot of that had to do with the defense. And right now, the Cowboys are having defensive woes. And I mean, yeah, so again, there's at least 6 to 7 quarterbacks that are coming out this year in the draft that I believe are going to be franchise quarterbacks. So if there's a team looking for a quarterback, I would say this year I would make a push for one of them quarterbacks. And I think the Steelers, they need to be thinking of the future, and they cannot be handcuffing themselves to Big Ben. I mean, I do like the Steelers. I mean, they're my second team, and I am a big Ben fan. But yeah, it's time to find your successor, and this draft is better than any draft in the last few years for quarterbacks. So I mean, Steelers fans definitely look to probably make a push for a quarterback this year and have Big Ben probably be done next year. I mean, his contract's up in 2019 anyways, and this is his 14th year. I mean, we're all not naive. I mean, quarterbacks just ain't going to play forever. And with the injuries that Big Ben has sustained, it's about his time. But yeah, we definitely strayed away from my original thing here. Yeah, I would definitely sit Le'Veon Bell. It does not look like a good matchup for him at all this week. I would definitely find another back, and I would definitely be benching him. Um, so to go down the list, I mean, I only gave you 5 names. I mean, there's a lot, but I mean, there's are 5 key names. So yeah, LaShawn McCoy, I would play. T.Y. Hilton, I would sit. Jared Goff, I would play. Dak Prescott, I would play. And Le'Veon Bell, I would sit. Yeah, for FNC Raw Undisputed, thank you guys for tuning in today. We will be back tomorrow at 6 p.m. And this weekend, I will be going through a couple new broadcasting streaming apps to find one that is better going to suit what I would like to do. But again, yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you guys tomorrow, 6 p.m. sharp. Thank you guys for joining in, man. FNC Raw Undisputed, baby. #1.